In this session, I'm going to cover displaying OE downtime information, real-time information in charts and different things like that. Um, Very similar to analysis, but this will update it live. So I'll start out with a new window here. And we have to tell it which line that we want to display the information for. So I'm going to use the production line selector. And I'm not going to worry about labels. But that, if I go into preview, that shows all our lines that are in the system. Then I'm going to go over and I'm going to use a standard ignition bar chart. And I'm going to go down to the data property, click the binding button, and select binding function. And in here we have OE downtime runtime data. So I'm going to go to the downtime history. And I need to tell it what line, or I could pull information in from a cell. Give it the path here, but I'm going to do just the line. And so I go to our production line selector component that I dropped on there, and I get the selected line path. And whether you want to include total downtime and run ID, I can leave it blank and it will just use the current run. Sequence number, what that is the first shift that you run a production run on is 1. The second shift is 2. The third shift is 3. The fourth shift is 4, 5, 6 for the life of that production run. So if we use just the shift number, it would repeat 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. This one just keeps going 4, 5, 6 on up. So we could isolate into a particular shift if we want to with this run sequence number. I'm not going to do that right now. And I'm going to say, that's fine, show the top 5. Now, how often it updates is controlled by here. I'm going to set that for absolute and 60 seconds. So every 60 seconds it will update. And I'm going to go down and get rid of the energy here and call it top 5. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make it a horizontal chart. For downtime, it shows a little bit better. I'm going to go up into preview here and select a line. Select line 1. So there we got the top 5 downtime reasons and the minutes associated with them. And if I go to a different line, I'll see that. That's pretty cool, but that's going just the current production run. And I might want to look at a run from prior days. So I'm going to go back to our downtime tab here. And we have a component called line run selector. I'm going to drop that down on the screen. And that's going to show runs that have already run for a particular line. So it requires that I have a line path here. I'm going to go ahead and bind that to our line path property. Property, production line selector, selected line path. And then I'm going to go to the chart, back into the data binding, and under this run ID, I'm going to bind to that line run selector run ID. So now if I go to preview, it's showing the current run. If I go to a different run, then it shows the data for that different run. Now let's look at adding a different type of chart. I have the analysis time chart here. So that's going to give us a timing chart. And I have the series data property. I'm going to go to the binding on that. Functions, OE downtime runtime data, scheduled versus actual. And I need that line path again. Selected line path. Run ID. line run selector, run ID. Sequence number I'll leave off. Normalize start times. That's if your run was scheduled to start at 12 o'clock, but it didn't start till 5 o'clock. It will show a 5-hour gap on the chart, and everything will be shifted and you can't compare. Normalize will move that 5 o'clock back to 12 o'clock so that you can see things lined up together. I want to include the scheduled. I want to include the actual. I'm not going to include cells. Other downtime. Comments, I can include comments on there. I don't think we have any in the system, so I'm not going to include that. And I'm going to tell it to update every 60 seconds. So now we get the scheduled information versus the actual down here. And you can do all kinds of things like zoom in on these, click on different downtime events, and it will give you what the downtime was. And like I said, I'll show notes on there also. And if I come back in and take a look at the current run, then I see the timing chart for the current run as well. We could probably go to another line here where there's a little better downtime here. We also see breaks show up in here. So that gives you a little bit of a summary of the real-time charts and the binding functions. You can put that into any type of component, tables or what have you, reports, anything like that.